Hey guys, it's Girl Got Game, and welcome to another Gander episode. Today, we are taking a gander at another visual novel from the Atomi Jam. This one is called It's About Time, and I was reached out about this from the devs, so thank you, Luck Cat Goody, for introducing me to your game and putting it on my radar. And I had actually seen this game floating around Twitter for a while because of the art. So I've seen a little bit of the artwork and thought, ooh, this looks kind of steampunky. So I'm very excited to check this out. The synopsis, if I can actually read it, we'll see how successful I am. Hopefully I don't break anything. So it says, this is the beginning of the Age of Steam. Our romance, currently at 55,000 words, is set at the transition between the Victorian world as it began and the near magical trajectory into the new age of steam. You play as Emma, who through wile, wit, and good fortune unlocks a secret that has remained dormant for 2 centuries. While many are keen to obtain the secret for themselves, others will stop at nothing to destroy it. Yet using the secret results in unintended consequences, unleashing new forces that prove difficult to control. However, a new age of invention is not the only thing blossoming. Emma has her hands full not only with the mysterious secret, but some unexpected contortions of her heart. Set in motion by a ruggedly handsome young machinist, a charming gentleman who comes to her rescue, a woman who defies Victorian norms, and a brilliant young man who carries many secrets of his own. There's also an ancient order trying to overthrow the whole thing. Somehow Emma finds an unlikely ally among them. Or is it a trap? Dun dun dun. So there you go. That's our synopsis, and I think I managed to do it without breaking anything, so huzzah for me. Alright, and with that, let's jump into the game and see who strikes off fancy. Alright. Somewhere in Victorian England, 1889. It's early in the morning at first light. It's actually, the music is much quieter in-game than it was in the menu. Hold on. Let's see. Let's just turn that up a little bit. Give that a go. It's early in the morning at first light. Ooh. The streets are deserted at this time. A quiet fog blankets the city. My favorite time to go for a walk. This is how I like it best. The air is cold and crisp, but still refreshing. I'm alone with my thoughts as I wander through the maze of narrow cobblestone streets. This is the poor side of town, but it's got character to spare. I do enjoy a good walk. It's a nice way for me to let off some steam. Still, I'm a little uneasy this morning. Alone time. That's another reason I like wandering around the city. My thoughts circle back yesterday's conversation with my family. Always the pressure to connect with some boring suitor. Don't my preferences matter? What business is it of theirs anyway? And why the focus on me? Shouldn't they be asking my brother the same question? Excuse me. Gregory is 23 and unmarried. That's 2 years older than I am. Yet all mother and father can speak about is his life of adventure. What about Gregory's biological clock? You know, the ticking time bomb that automatically devastates a young woman's prospects if she doesn't get married soon enough. Infuriating, to say the least. Worst of all, no one sees the double standard. I shake my head. So much for a pleasant walk to unwind. Can I help it if I have peculiar tastes? It's not that I'm picky. I just have standards. Good for you, girl. Perhaps I don't fit into this particular place and time. Finding someone suitable is not going to be easy. I feel myself let out a sigh. I'm determined to enjoy the rest of my walk. Gosh darn it all. I take a detour into my imagination. For a moment, I dream of the kind of life and romance that I want. I smile to myself. But it doesn't take long to return to reality. Family is family, and I can't just wish them away. They have their ways of pestering me. I have my ways of ignoring them. But I know very well that it's not about what I want. Many different interests must be balanced, or at least seen to be balanced. That's just the way things are in this modern Victorian age. I smiled to myself. Thankfully, I do have my ways of getting what I want. Suddenly, I jump. I hear a voice. It's a shout in the distance, a note of pleading desperation. Help! Someone help me! I look around me, sensing danger. I don't see anyone here. Ooh, look, there's our girl. I'm actually going to turn the music up again because it's kind of creepy sounding and I want to hear it properly. Hold on. There we go. Delightful. Hello? Is someone here? Another shout, louder this time. Now it's directly behind me. Turn around and see what the commotion is all about, or get out of here! Run! Ooh. Well, since I'm an unconventional young lady, I'm gonna go stick my nose in. I turn and see a man crumple as he falls. His body shudders as it hits the cobblestones. Oh. With a great and terrible effort, the man lays gasping. He's disfigured and suffering, in a terrifying state. I stand there horrified. He attempts to move his arm toward me, but barely manages a small shudder. There is an odd bottle clenched in his fist. His frantic eyes gesture to it. I see a mixture of horror and desperation in those eyes. A guttural wail, a gargle, almost like he's drowning. Take it. I see the effort it takes him to speak as he barely manages a final gasp. His last effort expended, he drops his head and lies perfectly still. A bright red liquid puddles and slowly encloses his torso. His outstretched hand relaxes. I watched horrified as the life leaves his body. His fingers no longer clench it. I put my hand to my mouth to stifle my scream. My heart is pounding. The bottle slowly rolls from his palm. It clicks and pings as it rolls to a resting spot among the cobblestones. Ooh. Despite the tragic scene, the bottle catches my eye. It's an odd shape, and there appears to be something inside of it. Yes, definitely something inside it. I look down. The large and growing pool of red now surrounds the body entirely. No one survives that. He's well past saving. I have a burning curiosity. Is there something wrong with me? What's in that bottle? Is it something worth killing for? Dare I pick it up to have a closer look? This is clearly a matter for the police. I mean, this is true. But he did tell us to take it. It was his dying wish. It can't hurt to have a look. I stoop down and pick up the bottle. It's definitely unusual and looks very old. There's also something inside of it. Some kind of scroll or paper, perhaps? A sudden noise to my left makes me jump. I look over and see someone gazing down at the body, then back up at me. I casually slide the bottle into my pocket. Oh my, exactly how many seconds have passed? I realize with embarrassment that I've been staring intently into the eyes of a young gentleman. Oh? Pray tell. Okay.
Hello, miss. Are you all right?
I shake out of my stupor. The gentleman in front of me has a genuine look of concern on his face. Yes, sorry, I'm quite all right. This is all just rather unexpected.
This won't do at all. I'm very sorry that you had to see such a sight. Please, you must allow me to escort you away from this wretched scene. Won't you come this way, please? I've already sent my porter to alert the authorities.
I feel a hand gently cup my elbow, guiding me away from the scene.
Clearly you're in a bit of shock. I think it's best that you head rest for a minute.
I'm guided, speechless, to the nearby stone wall where he offers me a seat. The gentleman looks concerned. He's keeping an eye on me. And the lighting really changed. He's holding my hand for reassurance, and it is, well, comforting.
I must apologize that I did not arrive on the scene sooner. What a terrible sight you had to witness.
I look up as he speaks. Maybe I am in a bit of shock after all. I do have the presence of mind to observe him. The man in front of me is fairly well dressed, and if I'm being totally honest, he's somewhat attractive as well. I sit and numbly nod my head in agreement, then manage to stammer. I'm fine now. Thank you. I appreciate your kindness.
Ah, yes, it's my pleasure to assist you. Look now, the authorities have arrived. I had better speak with them.
I nod.
Are you quite sure you're all right? Do you need anyone to accompany you?
No, I'm very well on my own. In fact, I should be going now. I watch him nod in his agreement, though he still looks uncertain.
Look, perhaps I shall leave my card with you. I'd like to follow up with you if I might.
He hands the card to me. It's exquisitely printed on the best stationery, embossed with gold leaf, or so it appears. On the back of the card is a tagline written in the finest script, "Financing extraordinary investments since 1823.
The name is Hero. I'm very pleased to make your acquaintance, Miss...
You may call me Emma.
Emma. How lovely. I'm sorry we had to meet under such tragic circumstances. Please promise me that you will check in with me later.
I shall. Hero nods and turns to the police. I slowly walk away from the scene. My head is filled with so many questions. What did I just witness exactly? And do I still have the bottle? Am I really all right? Is this numbness I'm feeling a type of shock? I begin walking back home. As I do, I put my hand in my pockets. The glass bottle! I pull it out to take another look. Yes, it's extremely old. That's definitely some kind of paper inside. I do know someone I might be able to ask about this. Perhaps I have time for a quick stop on my way home. Okay. Ah, the blacksmith shop, a place I know rather well. The sharp, acrid smoke and fumes assault my nostrils, but that's nothing out of the ordinary here. There's far worse smells than that elsewhere in the city. It's a fine perfume relative to the open sewers nearby. I could see that. Plus, the scenery isn't so bad either. I was waiting for the guy to show up here. It's like, the scenery ain't so bad, if you know what I mean, wink. My mind wanders to the trade of blacksmithing, a rather strenuous job. I smile to myself. Blacksmith's muscles are... how shall I put it? Statuesque. I don't get tired of the visual appeal. I can always find a reason to drop by for a visit. This bottle is the best excuse I've had in a while. I'm not the only fan of toned smithy muscles. There is a surprising number of young ladies with metallurgical interests who are regulars here too. Ah, here's the man I'm looking for. Are you our Iki? He's working outside his shop. He sees me arrive and walks up to say hello. Dalen, I guess is how you say that? Wow, Dalen, you're looking rather fine and well-muscled today. How's my favorite blacksmith? Hi, Dalen, what's up? I mean, how's it going? Yeah, how's my favorite blacksmith doing?
If you knew other blacksmiths, that might be more of a compliment.
I chuckle at his joke. We never tire of it.
Hey, good to see you. It's been a while. What brings you to London's finest blacksmith shop today?
Oh, the usual. You have anything for Father?
As a matter of fact, I do. I've been saving this one for him. I knew he'd like to see it.
Dalen pulls out an intricate metalwork design. It probably weighs more than I do. Yet grabbing it firmly with both hands, Dalen seems to lift it almost effortlessly.
Your father mentioned he's looking for something special for his front gate. I think he'll be very happy with this panel.
Looks wonderful as usual. I'll let him know it's ready so he can pick it up. Even though it's a simple gate, I can see how much effort he put into the artistic side of his work as well. Out of the corner of my eye, I see a couple of girls hanging out in the wings. One of them shoots me a jealous glance.
Sure thing. My family wanted me to ask you about your preferences for that dinner.
His green eyes fix on me for a moment. What dinner is that?
We already talked about it. It's a couple weeks away.
There goes my family roping me into their business again. And Dalen's rich uncle, if I recall correctly. Sure, what do you need to know?
They were wondering about after-dinner treats. I'm supposed to ask you what you like most.
Aw, you don't have to do that. I feel my mouth water. Dalen's family has a gift when it comes to food. What are my choices?
Apparently, it's between a fruit basket, a box of chocolates, cookies, hard candy, brownies, or cake. Any preferences? Or if you don't like any of them, make sure you let me know that too.
Which one of these do I like most? I like fruit baskets. Chocolates. Cookies are always a nice treat. Hard candy, yum. Brownies are delicious. Can't go wrong with cake. Not sure I really like any of these choices. Definitely a hard pass on the candy and fruit baskets for me. But choices. Chocolates, cookies, brownies, or cake. I gotta go chocolates. Chocolates.
Thanks, Em. I'll be sure to pass that along.
I notice he doesn't write anything down. He's got a prodigious memory, and like most things, just somehow keeps it all in his head. I mean, it's not hard to remember chocolates, probably. So how's your sister doing?
Not great, but at least it's not getting any worse, though. And she's still in a good mood.
She's so strong. Nothing can keep that little girl down. He smiles, but his eyes are a little sad.
You know it.
Dalen's eyes grow a bit watery now. I decide to change the subject. Actually, I have something for you too.
Oh yeah? What's that?
Take a look at this. I hand him the bottle.
Oh, now that's interesting. You don't see these very often.
Yes, it looks very old to me. There's something inside it.
Yes, I see that. A paper of some kind.
So any idea for opening it?
Of course. Not hard at all.
Oh? You can open it without damaging the paper? It's pretty fragile. I don't want it ruined if you pull it out the neck of the bottle.
I'm not worried. Mind if I give it a try?
Please, be my guest. I'd like to see how you do that. Dalen doesn't hesitate. He grabs the bottle by the neck and with one swift movement smashes it over the side of his anvil. What?
You said not to wreck the paper. Didn't say anything about the bottle. See? The paper is just fine.
Oh, Dalen. Dalen holds up the paper, and he's right. It's in perfect condition.
You'd never get it in this condition if you tried pulling it out. The bottle itself isn't worth much anyway. See? Easy.
I feel myself glaring at Dalen. You don't have to be so smug about it. You could have at least told me before you smashed it. My glare seems to just bounce off him. He's nothing if not practical.
Same result.
He pauses, though, as I continue my scowl.
But yes, I should have asked first.
I'm not sure whether to be mad or impressed. I mean, he is a man of action. And he apologized, so don't continue to be mad at him. I feign anger, but it just bounces right off him. Dalen shoots me a smile. As he puts his hands together, I enjoy watching his forearms ripple. My goodness, girl. It's hard for anyone to stay mad at him for long with those forearm muscles. So, what's on the paper? I'm curious. It was hard to see from inside the bottle. Dalen slowly unfolds the delicate parchment and lays it flat on his workbench.
Now that is interesting.
Wow, that's quite intricate, isn't it?
Exactly. Where'd you get this, anyway? Know what it's a design of?
I was actually hoping you could tell me. I watch as Dalen goes silent. I've seen that look of concentration before. Dalen is peering intently at the diagram. It's been at least 10 minutes now. I don't want to interrupt him, I'll just get a shh anyway. But the suspense is killing me. Finally, Dalen looks up at me. There's a sparkle of wonder in his eye.
This is something special.
It brings a smile to my face. I like it when he calls me that. Oh, why do you say that?
Well, you know me. I do a lot of intricate designs. I also know machinists who do some of the best clockwork in the country. This is nothing like that. It's way ahead of anything that I've ever seen before. Not sure if it's even possible to build. Hard to even say what it is exactly. I'd have to spend more time with it. I have a few ideas, but it's going to take a while to come to terms with it.
He brightens.
In fact, there's a few areas here that I've got half a mind to just build myself. Amazing.
His voice is speeding up. He's usually pretty calm, but I can tell this has him nearly bursting with excitement.
See this?
Dalen points at several spots on the diagram.
I don't even know what this is. It's some kind of script I've never seen before. If we could read it, I'm sure that'd help.
Oh, I know someone who can help with that. If she doesn't know the answer, she can point me to someone who does.
That sounds like a fine idea.
I nod.
One more thing, Em.
Oh, what's that?
You still haven't told me where this came from. I don't know, and maybe I don't want to know, but what you've got here is extremely valuable.
Gotcha! Even Charles Babbage would be impressed. I love that. Ooh, I'm kind of tempted to do that. I want to do this just because.
Oh? You know of Babbage?
Doesn't everyone? Dalen's eyes widen. He's clearly deeply impressed that I know who the inventor of the analytical engine is. Of course. We are talking a mechanical marvel here, right? Dalen nods solemnly.
You clearly appreciate how valuable it is to anyone who might want it. So take care of yourself too, okay?
I think back to the document's previous owner, laying lifeless on the cobblestones. My eyes widen. I don't think he notices, though. Oh. Okay. I'll do that. Yes, I think so. I realize I'm talking too fast. Dalen still doesn't notice, however. Nor does he notice his fans on my left. They're still waiting for him to resume his work. Say, Dalen, I see you've got a few fans over there. Dalen looks over his shoulder.
You mean them?
Yes, those young ladies have been following your movements rather closely.
Oh, Em, you're so funny.
Seriously, doesn't he notice? I have to get to the bottom of this. What should I ask Dalen about his fans? You know they're fans of yours, right? So these young ladies are here to learn about metalworking? You mean to say you don't find any of them attractive? That one young woman in particular clearly has the hots for you. How explicit do I want to be? I'm kind of torn between 3 and 4, personally. Let's be forthright with them and be like, yo, you know, if you're interested, that girl there. That one young woman in particular clearly has the hots for you. I gesture to the tallest of the young ladies.
Emma, how can you say that? She's my best student by far. She's very dedicated to learning about metalwork. She's here nearly every day.
I stay silent, waiting for Dalen to hear what he's saying and see the obvious. He doesn't. So you don't think she's interested in the instructor rather than the course material?
How can you, of all people, say something like that, Emma? Can't a young lady have an interest in metallurgy without having her motives questioned?
Come on, really?
I mean, you're here all the time, too. Surely you can understand her interest in the subject.
Yeah, but I'm here for the muscles, too. This is the problem. I don't know, Dal. I see the way she looks at you. It's pretty obvious.
Surely you aren't jealous of my students, are you, Em?
No, don't be silly.
You know I'm happy to teach you, too. Anytime you want to drop by, right?
Sometimes talking with you is just so frustrating, Dalen.
Now you're angry at me for no reason. I just don't get it.
Dalen throws up his hands. Fascinating. I marvel for a minute at how Dalen views the world. Okay, I should be going now. Thanks for all your help, Dalen. You're always so generous with your time.
No problem at all. Anytime. Make sure you bring that blueprint back. In the meantime, I'll keep thinking about it. You know I've got a great memory for this stuff.
I'll continue my research on it in the meantime.
Please do. I'd like another look once you figure out what it says. You really piqued my curiosity.
I politely excuse myself and head back the way I came. It seems I'm holding something of great value after all. But what about Dalen? He's pretty clueless, not a romantic bone in his body. This smithy looks like my type. I'll reserve judgment till I learn a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, between him and Hero, I think I prefer Hero so far. But I will reserve judgment for now. Well, that was certainly interesting. It's clear this is no ordinary document. I'm going to need a little help to find out more. I have just the person in mind for that, too. I set off to cross the bridge and head back to the nicer side of town. I'm looking forward to seeing Helen. She's a good friend and mentor to me. She's older than myself. While she's never told me her age exactly, I'd put her in her early 30s or even late 20s. It's very hard to tell. Somehow she's navigated the complexity of upper-class politics and accumulated a rather valuable estate. All this without managing to take a husband. How she's done that remains a bit of a mystery to me. But she's incredibly smart, proficient in multiple languages, and has a personal library that might rival that of some universities. Sounds like my kind of girl. Of immediate importance, she's also familiar with a variety of ancient writing as well as common cipher schemes. A smile crosses my face as I think about her. Yeah, she's pretty interesting to me, and more than a little mysterious. She's definitely not your average lady. I approach the gates of her estate. Wow, quite the estate. Upon seeing my approach, one of the members of Helen's staff opens the gate for me and leads me toward her home. It's a respectable home on an impressively sized lot, though the library at the rear of her estate is actually bigger than the home itself. I approve. Helen's butler leads me up the stairs to the door of Helen's study. I marvel at the woodwork. Helen appreciates fine things. There she is. Though there's no way she could have known of my visit, she smiles pleasantly, as if she had been expecting me.
It's so good to see you, Emma.
Helen brightens as she gets up and walks over to give me a hug. As she does so, I detect a faint scent of lavender. It's a nice contrast to the smoke of the blacksmith shop. Lady Helen. Is that lavender I smell? I don't know if she wants us to be formal with her or not. Do I detect a faint aroma of lavender, milady? Helen nods appreciatively.
I'm glad you noticed. Do you like it?
Not really. I'm afraid I'm allergic. Yes, it's quite lovely. I love lavender. It's subtle but has a rich aroma. It suits you well. This is how I feel about lavender, actually, just in general. Helen beams.
Lavender also has a wonderful taste to it as well. The bud is quite delicate. Exquisite, really. It makes a wonderful tea.
Helen smiles warmly and holds my gaze for the briefest of moments. Did she just raise her eyebrows a little? I'm not exactly sure.
Perhaps you would like to try it sometime.
Oh my goodness, so many options with you. Perhaps we shall sometime. Yes, you've kindled my appetite for it. What about right now? Indeed, I'm curious. Perhaps we may try it together sometime? I generally prefer the more common brands of tea. Fascinating. However, I don't think it's really of interest to me. Yes, let's do it together. Indeed, I'm curious. Indeed, I'm curious. Perhaps we may partake in it together sometime?
Perhaps we can enjoy a cup of it right now.
Helen smiles and summons her staff and requests some lavender tea.
This will be a fine introduction to it. However, with more advanced preparation of the young buds, the experience is truly delightful. It would be my pleasure to arrange the more aromatic version for you at a later date.
I nod and cast an appreciative glance in her direction. Helen suggested she'd like to arrange an aromatic version that requires advanced preparation of the young buds. How do I respond? That would be rather nice. I look forward to it. I should like to see that. I shall be curious about these preparations. Helen, if you seek romance with me, speak frankly and ask for it. Dang, that's very forward. Yes, I look forward to it, Helen. That would be rather nice. I look forward to it.
It would be my pleasure.
Helen gestures at me to have a seat.
So, to what do I owe the pleasure of seeing you today? Perhaps you're here about your parents again?
Actually, there's something I want you to look at. Helen leans back confidently in her chair, appraising me with her glance.
Something to show me. Wonderful. Please indulge me. You have my undivided attention.
Helen fixes her gaze on me. So where do I start? It's been a strange day, to say the least. Perhaps I'll just skip that part and show this to you. Best to just let this thing speak for itself. I reach into my pack and pull out the blueprint. Here, take a look. I carefully hold the old parchment, slowly unfolding it on the desk in front of her. Helen leans in for a closer look. She studies it for a few seconds, then I hear a small gasp of surprise.
Where exactly did you get this?
Her words are sharp and not exactly what I expected. One finds surprising things at the local antiquities market. Nowhere important, really. I think she knows what the true value of it is. I'll tell her. I don't know why, but I trust her. Although this, in the synopsis it did say it could be a trap. I may regret telling the truth, but I'm gonna go for it right now. Actually, hey, you know what I've got? I got a quick save. There we go.
Of course, I wish to hear the truth. Surely you must know that you can trust me. You may count on my utmost discretion. In all matters, of course.
Helen is looking at me intently. I bend easily under the strength of her gaze. Okay, let me tell you the whole story, then. A few minutes later, Helen is up to speed on the situation. I tell her about the shouting, the mysterious man who was apparently murdered, then the bottle and my trip to visit the blacksmith with it.
So who else knows about this so far? Just the blacksmith?
Yes, just him. Though I didn't exactly tell him to keep it a secret.
But you mentioned the gentleman. He doesn't know about how you obtained the bottle.
I mean, both of these is basically the same thing, but... He saw the bottle, but no, I don't think he will connect the dots.
Saw the bottle?
Yes, I think he may have seen it briefly before I put it in my pocket. But don't worry, I think he believes it was mine to begin with.
I see. That shouldn't present a problem. Who was this gentleman, by the way? Had you seen him before?
Oh, wait just a sec. I have something. I fish around for a second and pull out the card to show Helen. Here, take a look at the card. Helen eyes it and smiles.
We're fine. I actually know this gentleman. He won't present a problem at all.
Helen hands the card back to me.
Well, now it's my turn to tell you something, Emma. You'd best make yourself comfortable first.
I can't help but take a quick glance out the door of the study. I see what appears to be Helen's bedroom across the hall. It's a distracting thought. Girl! I turn my gaze back to her and decide to take a seat. I adjust myself under Helen's watchful gaze.
Ah, what luck! The lavender tea has arrived.
Helen instructs the servant to place it on the cart where it can't be spilled onto the blueprint.
Go ahead, help yourself. It'll be ready to serve.
I stand up and pour myself some tea before returning to Helen. I was gonna say I'm a little suspicious that it's only me with a cup of tea. Would you also like to take the first sip? Can I pour you a cup? Helen nods. I pour her tea and she accepts it with a thank you.
You certainly make yourself useful. I could get used to that.
You must be used to it already. I noticed quite a few servants about.
It's not quite the same. They don't have a choice in the matter.
Helen observes me carefully as I take a sip.
I knew this would be fun. I hope we shall make it a regular thing between us. Now, where were we? Oh yes, I was about to tell you why this blueprint appears familiar.
I wait and look up at Helen expectantly.
So if you look at the blueprint itself, you'll notice some unusual markings on it.
Helen points out two spots in particular.
I was surprised because I've seen these identical markings before. They mirror those from a document in my own collection. It's an old handmade copy of an original that has since been lost. The original was apparently kept by a local sect who called themselves the Order. It was purposefully destroyed because the instructions were believed to be dangerous. The design would supposedly contravene natural forces, unlocking some quasi-supernatural powers. The Order made the decision that the design of this demonic mechanism must be destroyed. As a result, I've had to take great care in the inquiries about my own document. Most in the Order aren't aware of its existence, and I'd like to keep it that way. At first I thought yours was the original, and that perhaps it had not been destroyed after all. Now I see that's not the case. There are some key differences. Most interesting, yours contains some unenciphered script that I can read.
A demonic mechanism. Well, what does it say?
It's a much older form of writing. Thankfully, something I'm quite familiar with. It says it's a mechanism designed for alchemy. Specifically, it mentions the transmutation of lead into gold,
I was wondering if that's what it was going to end up being. Isn't that the stuff of fairy tales? Lead into gold? What a bunch of nonsense.
I wouldn't dismiss it so quickly. There are still a great many things we don't understand. Some say there are invisible waves that travel through the air emanating from matter itself. It's possible that there are exchanges between matter and energy that aid in transmutation. Some even speculate that these invisible waves may one day be modified to carry sound over vast distances.
How foolish. Now we're really into crackpot science.
Yes, I pride myself on an open mind, but even I find that idea quite hard to swallow.
What else does it say?
Let me take a closer look. This is a bit strange. I see it goes on to specify a more detailed description of how the mechanism itself functions. However, it's quite annoying. This variation of the script is one I'm less familiar with. Unfortunately, I'm unable to decipher it.
What do we do now?
We decipher it, of course. Don't worry, I know someone who can help us with this. His name is Donovan. He's an archivist for the Order.
Didn't you just tell me they're the last people we should be talking to about this?
Yes and no. You see, Donovan is quite different from the others. He doesn't buy the demonic mechanism theory. Rather, he thinks the destruction of the original was a grave error. He is aware of my copy, and his own research and archives suggests a different interpretation of events.
So you're suggesting I tell him about this new document?
I believe we can trust him, yes. And he'll be able to translate the script easily.
So I should head there immediately?
Yes. He's available at the archives at pretty much any time of day. But I should warn you about him.
Uh-oh. I knew there was a catch. What's that?
Nothing serious. He's just a little rough around the edges, personality-wise.
Should I be worried about it?
No, nothing to worry about. He can just come off as a bit self-important.
So where are these archives anyway?
Oh, it's on the other side of the bridge again. You know the large marketplace near the bridge?
Of course.
It's right off that main square. You can't miss it.
So what's your interest in all of this?
If I'm honest with myself, curiosity mostly.
Is that so? What do you mean by curiosity? Curiosity about me?
Of course about you. I want to learn what you are capable of.
Is that so?
Yes. I'd like to pull on this string and see where it leads. I'm prepared to commit some funding to it.
Funding? What for?
To help build the mechanism, of course.
You're quite serious.
Of course. This is exactly the sort of adventure I enjoy most. I believe I know someone else who would help fund it as well.
That gaze of hers again. She's more confident than I am about all of this. But the prospect is, well, exciting. Okay, I'm game. Let's see where this takes us.
Very well. It sounds like you're ready for this. Thanks for dropping by, Emma. It was an unexpected pleasure. My staff will see you to the door. Take care now.
We embrace briefly. I catch another whiff of that pleasant lavender scent. Moments later, I'm at the front gate, alone with my thoughts. That was unexpected. And now, what do I think about Helen? Honestly, she seems a little bit creepy. I think I'm falling for her. I'm open to learning more. I'll have to wait and see. I do like her. She does come across with a hint of danger, which is also attractive. I think I'm still more interested in Hero, but I haven't spent a lot of time with him. So I'd say Hero, a very close second would be Helen, and then Dalen for me. So I'm open to learning more. I'm gonna keep my options open. I haven't met Donovan yet, so let's go meet Donovan. Well, let's see what this order is really all about. Sounds like Donovan is going to be a rather prickly character. I mean, Sundari? If he's a Sundari, could make a play for my heart right now. I head toward the bridge to cross over to the other side of the city. I take one last look around. What a pleasant green area this is. I can literally smell the fresh air. I could get used to this. You know, if we got together, I could just smell it all the time. That and lavender. I walk back the way I came. Large family homes and estate properties line the roadway. It's a pleasant walk, and I enjoy the scenery. But I can't help but wonder where all this wealth has come from. These magnificent estates, who lives in them, and what did they have to do to accumulate all that wealth? Just a few murders. Are they more deserving of it than me, than Dalen, or anyone else I know? I wonder what it might be like to live in one of them. Perhaps someday I may find out, if I play my cards right. I'm briefly jolted out of my daydream by a woman who rushes past with a bump. How rude. So, I can't help but admire her outfit. It seems we share similar tastes. Oh. Soon I find myself approaching the bridge that will take me to the other side of the river. As I near the crest of the bridge, I can already see the market that Helen mentioned. Ah. Once I cross over, I see the old facade of a building off of the square and a rather large entrance tunnel. It's clearly the home of the Order. Everything else is small shops and street vendors. As I get closer, I spy a tiny symbol above the main entrance tunnel. It vaguely resembles something I saw in the blueprint. I look beyond the main entrance to the Order. There appears to be an interior courtyard there. There's also a few cloaked figures lingering there. It doesn't look like anything will prevent me from simply just walking into the courtyard itself. I inspect the courtyard entrance, and nobody is immediately visible there. I consider my options for going inside. How should I choose to enter? Sneak in undetected, proceed respectfully and ask for help, walk right into the courtyard. Okay, so yeah, how do I want to do this? You know what I want to do? I want to make a nice little quick save again. I'm carrying a document of blueprints on me that the Order thinks is demonic. So do I just want to, like, walk in bold as brass? I feel like sneaking in maybe foolish? I don't know. I'm going to take the middle path and we'll see what happens. I decide to proceed respectfully. I'd like to flag someone down and ask what's appropriate. As I enter the arched tunnel, I see an older-looking man in a hooded cloak. Excuse me, I'm here to meet someone who works in your archives. Do you know if that would be possible?
Oh, you must be here to see Donovan. Of course. Just head on in and take a sharp left. It's the very first entrance. You can't miss it.
He explains all this helpfully and then shoots me a smile of encouragement before gesturing me toward the courtyard. Well, that went well.
Please feel free to enter and roam the premises without restriction.
Wow, this is easier than expected. All right. I walk into the entrance of the courtyard. It's beautiful. The old stone architecture is bathed in sunlight. It's the kind of serene open space that would be well suited to mediation? Probably meditation. Or a contemplative existence. I look around considering my choices, and sure enough the entrance to the archives is easy to spot. In my imagination, I identify it based on what I learned of the mysterious script from Helen. I'm a quick study. I laugh at my own joke. Thankfully it says archives in enormous letters right above the doorway. I think to myself that I've made it this far already, so might as well just head on inside. Once I enter out of the brightness, it takes several more seconds to adapt to the dim interior. Hello. It's a rather large interior, cluttered by a myriad of shelves and storage areas. It's very gray. There even appear to be some items scattered along the floor. The room would be completely devoid of life were it not for a hooded figure standing in front of me. Oh. Well, you just appeared. I'll observe for a moment if that's okay with you. As my eyes adjust and continue to adapt to the light, I get a better look at the interior. There are books and papers everywhere. It is quite an extensive collection. I don't know anything about this order, but it looks like they have a few centuries of stuff lying around. A monk-like hooded figure at the front continues flipping pages now and again. Otherwise, the place is dead quiet. I decide to head over and make my move. Hi, I'm Emma. At first, nothing happens. The cloaked figure doesn't respond. Then, wordlessly, he looks at me and scowls. I feel the brief scrutiny of his piercing eyes before he's back absorbed in his notebook again. I said, hi, I'm Emma. He doesn't even lift an eyebrow, just ignores me completely. Wow.
Yes, I know. I heard you the first time.
Are you aware you have 2 belts, sir? He casually turns the page of the book he's examining. Well? He looks up.
I'm sorry. Did you have a question? I'm really quite busy here.
I look around at the vast empty room with no patrons. This response takes me by surprise, so I say, how can you say you're busy? I'm the only person here. What exactly are you busy with? You look absorbed in your material. Is another time better? Number 2.
It's metaphysics. I'm trying to get a handle on whether reality is truly subjective or not.
What's that? Wait, never mind. I'm not sure I care. Oh, you mean like whether there's actually objective truth or not? I see his eyes light up.
Yes, that's it exactly. It appears I may have misjudged you.
That's okay. I'm no stranger to subjective evaluations either.
My responsibilities here require me to inform you that our order has a new open door policy. That means that you may roam freely throughout our grounds. And I may aid you in viewing archival documents that are part of the vast library here.
How wonderful.
It does not require me, however, to be pleasant about it, nor must I play the role of tour guide.
You're Donovan, aren't you?
How do you know my name?
A friend suggested I come here, but prepared me for your, unusual approach to dealing with people.
I'm glad you came well prepared. Your friend did you a great service. Nice to hear my reputation precedes me.
I realize that I need to be polite if I want to get anywhere here. May I ask you a question about your order?
I am unfortunately obligated to answer that with a yes.
Donovan, why do you have an open door policy if you don't want to help people?
That's an excellent question. As you might have guessed, I'm not a fan of the open door policy. When I joined, this was a secret society, as it had been for several centuries.
Secret society? That sounds so interesting. But how can it be both secret and open door? It doesn't make sense.
Exactly. It changed because of the recent political push for the order to get with modern times. Secret societies have become passé. So the open door policy is an attempt to put a friendlier public face on our former secret society. A rebranding, if you will.
So what was so secret about it to begin with? Why the need for secrecy at all?
Well, we are secular now, but this was originally a religious order. Of course, there's a few within the Order who still hold on to some of the older religious beliefs and practices, but all that is entirely optional now. So the result is that most of the original secrets the Order was designed to protect have since been lost or forgotten.
I understand. So the logic is, why bother being a secret society if we don't have secrets anymore?
Yes. That's the other reason for opening up to the public. We no longer have anything to hide. Or if we do, we don't know what it is anymore.
I see. But do you personally believe that there are any secrets left?
I believe I've more than fulfilled my duty to answer your questions. Outside the direct scope of the Order's activities, I'm not required to disclose my personal opinions.
I'm just trying to be friendly.
On the surface, perhaps. A lady of your kind is accustomed to certain responses, and I'm sure it's just disappointing when they don't materialize.
A lady of my kind? I think you'd best clarify what you mean by that, sir.
A lady who is accustomed to having men fawn over her on account of her beauty.
Well, thank you for calling me beautiful. Are you suggesting that I'm beautiful?
Well, if we mean beauty in the objective sense of the word, I suppose you could say that's true.
Is it so hard to offer a lady a compliment?
I try to stick to the facts.
Just the facts, ma'am.
Of course, I've been wrong about people before. I shall have to gather more evidence before offering a final verdict.
Donovan takes a closer look at me. Well, I'll have you know that my goal is not to have you fawn all over me. I came here looking for insight.
That sounds a little more promising.
I've recently become something of a document collector myself. I found something I'm sure would be of interest to you and would like you to have a look at it. I begin to open my pack to pull out the diagram.
Hold up, let me stop you right there. Please, put it away and you'll save us both some time.
What? Why? I'd like to show it to you. It'll only take a minute.
Your answer is yes, yes, no.
The answer to what?
Your questions.
But I didn't ask any questions yet.
No, but you will. And those are your answers.
Huh?
The questions everyone always asks the archivist. Namely, have you seen this type of thing before? Yes. Can you make out what it says? Yes. Is it valuable? No. So you see, it's yes, yes, and no.
I just stand there staring at Donovan, dumbfounded.
Looks like your questions have been answered. Please run along now.
Was that really faster? Like, let's say that was what you came here for. Was that really faster than if she had actually taken the stuff out and you had gone through the process? I would say the answer is no. Now I understand what Helen was talking about. Pure dismissive contempt. What a jerk. As I stand in shock, I realize my mouth is still hanging open in surprise. Well, this looks like it has been a huge waste of time.
No time in the pursuit of knowledge is ever wasted.
I don't know why Helen ever recommended I even come here.
Wait, did you say Helen?
Yes. She said you'd be able to shed some light on my blueprint. It's similar to the one she has. Now it's Donovan's turn to look shocked. I look up at him and watch with amusement as he stands there, frozen motionless. Finally, he speaks.
Why didn't you tell me this up front?
Well, if I'm being truthful... I let his own words hang for a second, hoping they'd leave a bit of a sting. I didn't know you'd act like such a jerk otherwise.
Well, now that we've got this all sorted out, I'd be happy to look at your blueprint.
I don't think so.
Don't be foolish. Why else would you have come here?
Well, I already have my answer, don't I? Yes, yes, no.
Oh, perhaps I was being a bit hasty. Now, with full knowledge of the situation, I'm more than happy to assist you.
Am I a bad person to enjoy watching Donovan squirm? I can see in his eyes that he's desperate to see that document. But I feel like playing this game a little bit longer. What's the best way to let Donovan squirm a bit more? Do a quick save, that's what. First instincts are often correct. This is good scrap paper. Perhaps another time. I'm rather busy myself at the moment. Ooh, the whole busy thing. Oh, so you've decided you'd like a look now, would you? Say either 2 or 3. Let's do number 3.
Oh yes, I certainly would.
You look quite eager to see it.
Yes. I'm confident I could render a professional opinion to your satisfaction.
I'm feeling rather satisfied at the moment. Not sure how you would improve upon that.
Are you playing games with me? I'm not sure of the point of all this.
I'm sorry, did you want a look or not?
I do.
Then you shall have to play along with me. Donovan shakes his head and shrugs.
I'm not really sure what you're getting at.
You don't like to play?
I'm fond of intellectual pursuits, if that's what you mean.
I'd like you to play a game called I'm Sorry, and Now I Apologize. Donovan looks down in the direction of the blueprint. The curiosity is clearly killing him.
Perhaps I do owe you an apology.
How thoughtful of you to say so. Donovan nods. Okay, please go ahead. Let's have it then. I put on my most courtly and dignified look, a slight pout with eyes cast downward.
First, I'm not going to apologize for what I've said. You'll find that I always speak my mind, so that's not going to change.
This doesn't sound like the kind of apologies I'm familiar with.
What I'm saying is that while I can come off as a bit rough around the edges, I will always pursue truth and knowledge above all. So if that means I'm not always polite socially, so be it.
Again, not sure where you are going with this.
However, I will apologize for failing to uncover the truth. I was wrong about you, and for that, I'm deeply sorry.
Now that's better.
I misjudged you, and the best apology I can offer is a promise not to do that again. Will that suffice?
That's one of the strangest apologies I've ever received. But yes, it will suffice.
Very well. I'm glad we can start fresh again.
Now, let's get back to the document. I've been rather anxious to show it to you this whole time. Was that a bit of a smile? I really can't tell with this guy.
Here, let's try this table near the entrance archway where we have more light.
I pull out the blueprint and carefully unfold it. I look over at Donovan while I do so. He's almost in a trance as he starts to soak it all in. Take your time. I watch as Donovan comes alive. He's practically shivering with glee. He's breathlessly whispering to himself as he darts around the table, inspecting it closely.
This is it. Yes. Oh my. Yes, I see. I think it is. Yes, this is the missing piece.
So anytime you feel like letting me in on this thing you're doing, you just go right ahead. Donovan straightens up and looks me in the eye.
This is the missing piece of the puzzle. Until now, we didn't have a full picture. Now it's all clear.
Puzzle pieces? You mean the documents are designed to work together?
Exactly. Helen's document was incomplete. It almost appears as if they were purposefully separated, like requiring multiple keys to open a lock.
So we've got all the pieces we need, with this and Helen's document combined?
Yes, everything we need for the design is now available to us.
So you'll have to excuse me if I ask a more basic question.
Yes, please do.
Donovan continues his inspection of the blueprint. He's now making careful notes as well. What exactly is it, anyway? What is the blueprint for?
Well, it depends whose version you believe. Did Helen offer you any information on this?
A little, but let's try starting from the beginning. I mean, she said it's a transmutation machine.
Well, do you remember when I told you that the Order's original secrets were lost or missing?
Yes. I'm guessing this is one of them. Donovan nods solemnly. He looks about the room, presumably to ensure no one is overhearing us.
Centuries ago, the Order was put in charge of these documents for safekeeping. The current thinking, which I disagree with, is that they contain the plans of a supernatural device. Many, especially those of the Order who practice its ancient religion, are convinced that it's a demonic one. So at some point, I believe in the last century, all of the Order's copies were intentionally destroyed. The risks from this possibly supernatural device were simply judged to be too great.
But the fact that we're even discussing this means that multiple copies were made.
It appears so. While I believe Helen's version is a now forgotten copy of our own blueprint, yours is clearly an original. The same mind that created multiple puzzle pieces like keys to a lock also apparently thought to create some backup copies.
So you don't believe it's some kind of supernatural doomsday device? What do you think it is?
I am surprised that Helen didn't share this with you, but the blueprints say that its purpose is related to alchemy. There's a specific mention of transmutation of metals.
Actually, this did come up.
Yes, but that's where things get interesting. You see, there's some additional details here as well.
That's why Helen sent me here. She wasn't able to translate it for me.
I can see why. The language is relatively obscure to begin with, and some of it is in a variant that's long since been extinguished.
So you're unable to help with it either?
Well, I don't like to brag, but you've come to the right place.
Well, what does it say?
It's actually quite a marvelous concept. It describes how the transmutation of metals works.
Go on. Now it's Donovan who is pausing for suspense.
First, it acknowledges that direct physical conversions of elements is impossible. The quantity of gold in the universe, or any other element for that matter, is fixed and cannot be altered. However, it can be shifted through time, where you essentially exchange one quantity of matter for another.
So I could send a brick of lead back to the past and potentially exchange it for gold on the way back?
Yes, that's apparently how it works.
So it's not quite true alchemy, but a remarkable invention nevertheless.
I do see some risks here.
What do you mean?
Well, this device has been demonized by members of our order as disrupting the natural order of things.
Go on.
Well, they're right to some extent. Swapping matter across timelines might seem relatively minor, but it does mean that our timeline itself is no longer fixed.
You mean it could have unanticipated consequences?
Yes. Consequences that may be difficult to predict.
Like a butterfly flaps its wings somewhere across the ocean and it brews a hurricane somewhere else.
That's the general idea, yes.
Chaos theory. And yet, a mechanism like this does have a certain attraction.
Truly. It's revolutionary. And to think, the Order has had possession of it for many centuries now. It's surprising that during that entire time, no one has endeavored to actually build it. Perhaps it simply doesn't work.
Actually, I might have another explanation for that.
Oh?
Yes, a good friend of mine who is mechanically gifted took a look at these drawings.
What was his thoughts? Or, I mean hers. Or...
My friend is a he. In any case, my friend was extremely intrigued by these blueprints. He believed the design was quite intricate, and that perhaps it would be barely buildable today.
Ah, so the ability to construct this invention was not available during the inventor's lifetime. Or indeed any time during the last several centuries.
Yes, it certainly sounds like it. So that begs the obvious question. Should it be built?
I think a lot of that depends on you.
What do you mean?
It depends on your intentions.
It depends on my intentions? What does he mean by that? What do I say next? You seem like a nice guy, but it's pretty early in our relationship. I'd like to learn more about what this device is capable of. Think of the potential wealth it could generate. Oh my goodness. I'm so curious about number 1. I think 2 is a good way to go. Not this one. For science, I need to try number 1. Donovan is shaking his head slowly with amusement.
I find it interesting how you always see things through a relationship lens and whether someone is attracted to you or not.
Wow, thanks for calling me out, Donovan. No, I don't. I just thought you were asking about my intentions toward you.
What I meant is your intention for the invention. What are your motivations for wanting it? What's clear to me now is that this is a device with the potential to change the world.
Yes, that's clear to me also.
But what I'm less certain of is you. Proceeding down this path carries with it an enormous responsibility.
I thought you said earlier that you wouldn't underestimate me again.
Oh, it's not that. I'm now very confident in your abilities.
So I don't see the issue.
It's about your nature, your character. I simply don't know you that well.
To be frank, I don't know you that well either. Your most redeeming quality at this point is that Helen recommended you.
Yes, that's it exactly. We know very little about each other's true character.
So what you're saying is we should go on at least one date and get to know each other better. I agree. Not sure where that leaves us. Do you want to do this or not? Helen already indicated she'd support it.
Helen tends to go with her instincts. I like to think things through more deliberately.
So what do you suggest?
I propose we get to know each other's character in very short order.
So how do we do that?
A series of questions. You ask me anything you like. Anything at all. And I'll answer as honestly as I can. And then we switch places. I'll get to ask the questions and you answer them as honestly as possible.
So I can ask you anything? Anything at all?
Yes.
Please tell me that did not count as the first question. And you'd be completely honest?
Yes, of course. Why wouldn't I?
This sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, don't forget you'll have to answer my questions too.
I'm good with that. Just don't ask anything that you don't want to know the answers to.
Shall we begin?
Yes. Except that I'd like to suggest that you go first instead. Ask me anything you like.
You're sure about this?
The answer to your first question is yes, I am sure. I smile pleasantly at Donovan. His face doesn't change. I'm not sure if it's because he just doesn't think I'm funny or whether this is just a serious topic for him.
Okay, let's proceed.
I see a nearby sofa. Better get comfy. Mind if I take this one lying down?
Suit yourself.
I lie down on it and stretch out. It's quite comfortable. Fire when ready.
Let's start with the basics. When you think about your choices in life you've made so far, are you happy with them?
Yes, I'm generally happy with them. No, I've made some bad choices. I smirk. I've turned out pretty well, don't you think? They are what they are. That's what makes me who I am. I'll go with number 4. Donovan nods.
Do you believe in a higher power?
Thought it was my turn. Yes, I do.
Okay, next question. Do you believe that you're beautiful?
Yes, I think I'm quite attractive. I don't know. I hope others may be attracted by my mind instead. Others may find me so, but I hardly think it matters. I feel like our girl would be number 2.
Indeed. I see. If you had to pick between eating a dessert and eating an appetizer, which would it be?
Dessert. Donovan appears to raise his eyebrows a little.
If I gave you 1,000 gold bars and you had to spend all of it in 1 week, what would you buy?
I'd invest it. I would look lovely in magnificent clothes and fine jewelry. A castle or magnificent estate property. Donate it to a worthy cause. I'd host the grandest party the world has ever seen. Infrastructure like roads, hospitals, or clean water wells. I would prepare a magnificent voyage to a faraway land. I mean, investing's boring but smart. Clothes and jewelry is frivolous and a waste. A nice home is nice. Of course, donating it or putting it into infrastructure is very... what's the word I'm looking... like generous. A party's a waste. Traveling? I think I'd like to travel. I would prepare a magnificent voyage to a faraway land. Donovan nods silently and makes a note of my answer. Yep, make note of that for the honeymoon, sir.
Have you ever done something you regret deeply?
Yes, there's some things I wish I could change. Donovan nods understandingly.
If you had to pick an activity to stay up all night doing, what would it be?
Oh, what? I can't pick him as the activity? Drat. I'd stay up all night reading. Donovan creases his brow, then jots another note in his book.
Do you believe in true love?
Yes, I believe in true love. Donovan nods.
I see. I have just 3 more questions for you. What is the single most important quality that you look for in a friend?
What quality in a friend is the most important? Loyalty, humor, honesty. Someone who pushes me to be a better person. They accept me for who I am. They are fun to hang out with. I can share my hopes and dreams with them. In a friend. In a friend... I mean, I can't be a friend with you unless you got a sense of humor about you. Donovan nods and makes a note of it.
What is the single most important quality that you look for in a romantic partner?
What quality in a romantic partner is most important? They should know how to please me in the bedroom. Ooh, spicy. No. It's either loyalty or honesty. Honesty. Someone who is 100% honest with me. Donovan nods and makes a note of it.
Final question. Do you believe you could build this device without my help?
No, I don't think so.
I see. Very well. That's all the questions that I have for now. I can only assume you've answered these in good faith, so that it's been enormously helpful. So now it's your turn to ask the questions. I'm ready any time.
I sit up from the sofa. Perhaps you would like to lie down for this also?
No, I think I would prefer to stand, thank you.
Have it your way. Alright. These questions. Okay. We'll start with the top. What's the biggest regret you have? Donovan stiffens when I ask this question. His face becomes ashen and ghostly. He almost looks as if he's experiencing some kind of physical pain. There's a long period of silence as he contemplates the question.
Emma, would you consider giving me a pass on this question? It's a really painful memory, and I'd rather not relive it if I don't have to.
I understand that, but I also believe that this is an important opportunity to really understand each other. The good comes with the bad, really.
I see. Very well. I will share this with you, but only because I promised I would be completely open and truthful. It concerns someone who was very close to me. They were gravely ill, and I was spending a lot of time at their bedside. It was terrible to watch them suffer. At a certain point, the pain of their illness became unbearable. They were literally screaming with pain. It lasted hours, then days. It shook my very soul. It was more terrible than you can possibly imagine. I stayed with them during this time. It was difficult for me to bear, and for them, imaginably harder still. It sounds terrible, but I was praying that death would come quickly to ease their suffering. At a certain point, they broke completely. Their screaming became that of a wild animal, and they began pleading for me to end their suffering. When I refused, they began screaming at me, and cursing my weakness at being unable to do it. I finally couldn't take it at all. I began screaming at God himself. How could he allow such suffering? I was filled with complete and utter rage, and I ran from the room. My anger was so great that I lashed out, destroying everything in sight. I began pounding my fist on the oak hull of the ship until I had to be restrained.
Donovan holds up his hand. I see his fingers are crooked, and there's something quite misshapen about his knuckles.
When my rage finally left, I returned to the bedside only to find that death had taken them. My deepest regret is that I abandoned them in my rage. I was unable to offer any comfort in those final painful moments where they suffered alone. Worse still, I lacked the courage to act on their final wishes and help to end their suffering.
Donovan turns to me. His eyes shine and his cheeks are wet with tears. Damn, he was really honest about that.
The joy we shared together is now forever overshadowed by her final terrible moments. I'm sorry. I'm going to need a moment.
He pauses.
If it's all right with you, I'd prefer we never discuss this topic again.
I nod. I wipe my cheeks as they are wet too. Imagine following that up with, do you find me attractive? Oh my goodness. Why did you join the Order?
Why did I join the Order? Well, as I mentioned, I didn't want to go down the same path as my father, and after my travels I really needed a worthy pursuit to dedicate my life to. I stumbled upon the Order by accident, really. I was tracking down a manuscript, and that led me to the archives. Normally at that time visitors were not allowed access, but I was able to use my connections to get a look at that manuscript. That gave me a glimpse into the Order itself. I realized that I could live a very different type of life here, one that greatly appealed to me. At first I volunteered, then became more involved, and eventually I made it my permanent home. It's a way for me to devote myself to my lifelong love of learning, with tremendous access to knowledge from around the world. I'm very thankful for that.
What's something you've never told anyone before?
I'm a fairly open person, so I don't tend to keep many secrets. I suppose that I tend to hold back on speculation. That is, areas of interest where I believe something, but I have not yet gathered enough evidence for. So in this case, there is a hypothesis I have about this mechanism that's the subject of these blueprints, and I have not yet spoken of it to anyone.
Oh, this sounds quite interesting. Please, go on.
Well, again, at the moment it's pure speculation, so please don't read too much into it just yet. But my belief is that this device may be far more than just a mere alchemy machine. My family background has acquainted me with those who live with great wealth, so if that was the sole purpose of this machine, I frankly wouldn't be all that interested.
So what do you believe its true purpose is?
I really can't say just yet. But what's striking about it to me is that it's a machine capable of altering our timelines. That's a bit disturbing to me, because as someone who is in search of truth, an adjustable timeline means that there is not and cannot be an objective truth. So the ability to alter timelines seems far more powerful to me than any ability to turn lead into gold. Altering timelines is a powerful feature, but likely involves enormous risks. We shall have to proceed with the utmost caution. So that's something I've never told anyone before. And without further evidence first, I'd caution against sharing this information with anyone just yet.
I nod. Donovan is proving to be a useful ally already, and I'm glad to have his advice. Can you tell me about your family?
Family. Wow, that's a complicated one for me. Where do I start?
Well, how about right from the beginning?
All right. Well, I was born into a large family. 2 brothers, 2 sisters. I come from a very wealthy family. They own a large estate property, and that's where I grew up. My father was an ambitious man. He worked nearly every working hour, with not much time for us. But the result is that he accumulated a large business empire. My mother was quite the socialite. I remember her always as the life of the party, always entertaining. She also wore the finest attire money could buy. Her jewelry alone was quite a spectacle.
I never would have guessed you came from a background like that.
It's not something I talk about much, as it's no longer relevant to my life. In any case, as I grew up, my father groomed me for his business. It simply wasn't to my interests, though. I didn't admire my father or his business empire. It wasn't the kind of life I wanted. In the end, my father was very disappointed by this, and we parted ways. Not very amicably, I'm afraid. I still keep in touch with my brothers and sisters, but only very rarely. They seem to be puzzled, and even a little embarrassed by my life choices. That's really all I can say about my family.
For no reason whatsoever. Are you currently in a romantic relationship?
That one is a little bit complicated, I'm afraid.
How so?
Well, I'm involved in a friendship at the moment. It hardly qualifies as a romantic relationship, though it's certainly not a usual friendship either. Are you asking specifically about romantic relationships only? Or should I go into details to explain the details of this friendship further as well?
Should I ask Donovan to go into the details of this so-called friendship? Color me intrigued. I'd like to hear more about this friendship of yours.
This friend and I have quite a bit in common. They're a bit of an intellectual, with a passion for reading. So our shared intellectual interests are the basis of our friendship. And that's how we got to know one another. So we spend a lot of time together, and it's not at all unusual for us to work late into the night, going over some document or another, or discussing our many areas of shared interests. On one of those evenings, New Year's, I believe, We happened to be celebrating with a bottle of wine, and then later a second bottle. One thing led to another, and we discovered we shared other passions as well. And in fact, rather than being embarrassed about it later, as I understand is quite common after such an experience, we both rather enjoyed it. So oddly enough, we have occasionally incorporated this into our friendly repertoire. Not very often, mind you, but perhaps every few months or so. It's something I quite look forward to. They are surprisingly skilled in this regard. Again, there is little to no romantic aspect of this at all. I think of it as a recreational activity more than anything else, even though I'm aware that most others would not share this view.
You keep saying this friend. May I know if they are male or female?
Oh, I didn't realize that's relevant, but yes, they are a she.
This is rather unexpected. I don't want to be rude, but I'm also curious too. What to ask next? So why have you continued to pursue this relationship?
Why do we pursue any form of recreation with a friend? Because we enjoy it, I suppose.
But this is not exactly like playing tennis, though, is it?
No, not at all. I find it far more enjoyable than tennis. And unlike many forms of recreation, both participants usually end up winning.
Damn, humble brag much. I'm glad you can speak so candidly about your relationships. It's quite refreshing, actually.
Don't mention it. There's little harm in asking about the things you're curious to know.
Man, you can ask so many questions. Okay, I'm gonna ask one more question, and then I'm gonna have to call it there, guys. Because I've gone for an hour and a half now. Shoo! Most important question. Do you find me attractive?
How did I know you would ask me this question?
Donovan looks at me and chuckles.
If you mean in an objective sense, absolutely yes, you are definitely beautiful. I'm sure many men find you attractive.
Yes, but I'm not asking about other men, I'm asking about you.
Well, if I'm honest about it, physical attraction holds little importance to me. It's really a thin veneer that turns out to have little use in practice. If anything, beauty often comes with quite a few unwanted side effects. It may feed the ego, or may lead to a sense of entitlement. It may also serve to mask one's true intelligence, a mistake which I made with you earlier. In the long term, beauty is surely more of a liability than an asset. And if we can be certain of one thing, it's that beauty will wither with age, but character will not.
Well said. Okay, well, much of that is true. I'm not sure it actually answers my question.
To answer your question directly, yes, I find you extremely attractive. However, I put little stock in that aspect of you, so in the end it's of little importance.
But attraction is about much more than just physical appearance, is it not?
It is. So perhaps you mean to ask me whether I find you desirable. This is a much more complex and interesting question. I'm not sure I know the answer. I shall have to dwell upon it further.
Okay. My goodness. Well, there you man, you can play 20 questions or more with this boy. And I am thoroughly invested in him, but I think I'm gonna have to call it there, guys. Otherwise, I will never stop playing because I thoroughly enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. I'm also going to show... Alright, Molly in the future. Display the CGs. Display them. Thankfully, Luck Cat Goody was very kind to send me 3 CGs that are in this demo. I think there's more, but these are at least 3, so you can get an idea of what the CG art looks like as well, because I didn't get to any of them. But yeah, art, CGs, and backgrounds and everything is delightful. Really like it. I like that we can see our little character, like our protagonist in the corner whenever she's speaking. The music is very chill. Like, a lot of the music is very calming and relaxing, and so is the scenery. So I really, really liked that too. The characters are very engaging. The story's exciting and very interesting. Excellent job. Absolutely wonderful. I had a great time with this. And if you guys would like to check this out, I will leave a link to it on Itch.io down below. You can either download it from Itch.io, or there is a web version, like a browser version as well, that you can check out, which is pretty cool. And also, if you want to connect with the devs over Twitter, I will leave the Twitter handle down below too. But that is it for me, guys. Thanks again for joining me for this Gander episode. And until next time, I will see you later.